from this point onwards, we will be concerned with the subtle aspect of the human being. You are energy. Everything consists of energy. Everything. Even what seems to be dead matter, like a rock, everything consists of energy. And everything consists of a certain balance of Shiva energy and Shakti energy. That typical balance determines the kind of material that you are dealing with. Prana is energy, it is not breath, as many people believe. If you look it up in the Sanskrit dictionary also, it has various meanings, but not breath. It is energy, prana. In preparation of pranayama, which therefore also is not breathing control or breathing exercise, but energy control. In preparation of that, we have to start understanding what this energy is about and how that energy is governing our body. This is a totally new concept for most people because we have been, our bodies, our beings, have been governed by these energies since we were born, and we are not aware of it. And when I point out some aspects of it, you say, no, I don't feel that at all. I don't feel anything. I'm going to try to introduce you into those subtle energies in a practical way. All the functions of our body are governed by energy. When you need to go to the toilet, you do that because there is a whirl of energy that makes you restless and that leads you to the conclusion that you have to get off your chair and walk to the restroom and do your thing. You never stood still to think about this. You never have actually observed how this works. But you really have to do that. Instead of going to the toilet, refuse. Do not give in to that urge and just observe what happens in you. What is it that makes you go to the toilet? We have always taken it for granted. We just do what we have to do. With everything. So also with going to the toilet. Well, what is it that makes you go? You just suddenly you think by yourself, hey, nice, well, okay, let's go to the toilet. No, it doesn't work like that. There is some mechanism inside you, not a mechanism, there is an energy world that occurs that causes a subtle restlessness in you. That gives you the signal that you have to do something. Go to the toilet, eat, drink water. Do you agree? Do you feel that energy? A very practical example of energy, if you just refuse to feel energy, I'm just kidding, but if you want to feel energy, take a roller coaster ride. There you feel all your chakras being shaken up. All your energies will be, they're not subtle anymore, they're overwhelming. Take a roller coaster ride, go bungee jumping. Then you feel energy. But that is not subtle anymore, but it's the same energy, it's just in much larger amounts. Explosive amounts even. That's why people are screaming, especially women, in the roller coasters. Ah! to do that. Excitement. What is excitement? Energy. That's what you feel. Energy. You feel that? Well, if there is energy, energy follows thought. That means that you can manipulate energy. You can transform it also. You can manipulate energy with the power of the mind. Because thought is energy. And if you project that by using mind control, you can project your energy inside yourself, but also outside. The principle of healing is based upon this. Everything is energy. The only problem is we have to become familiar with it. Because we are not educated, we are not brought up with this concept of energy. While it is everywhere. We are filled with this energy. This energy is determining how we live our lives, why we react the way we react. And if you understand all that, you can learn to control all that. That means that you will eventually learn to control your tendencies, your instincts. You become a master of yourself, a master of life. That is real mastership. That you stand above it and you observe and you say, okay, this is good, I allow this to happen. That, no, I don't. This is not constructive. I will not allow this to take place. They're very powerful. But before that, we first have to become familiar with it. And from lesson 19, we will also start controlling energy in our body. What energies are we talking about? I've explained it during the open day, and maybe in the first class. We have Shiva energy and Shakti energy. In China they call it Yin and Yang. Everything has Shiva and Shakti energy. Even if you put your finger into the wall up there, you have plus and minus. Without the plus and minus, you don't have energy. So there are always two forces at work. That is also the basis of duality. The battle between the head and the heart, the battle between rajas and tamas, good and bad, all founded in the duality between Shiva and Shakti, between plus and minus, between feminine and masculine. Now, because you are a man, doesn't mean that you don't have Shiva energy. Because you are a woman, doesn't mean that you don't have Shakti energy. If you are a balanced person, you have equal amounts of Shiva and Shakti energy. When you are a woman, you have masculine qualities as well. When you are a man, you have feminine qualities as well. That is natural. Very often, not very often you see that people are imbalanced because they oppress one of the qualities in them. Men, for example, if they don't want to be girlish, if they don't want to show, or they don't want to allow their feminine qualities to come out, they don't cry, they don't show emotions, they always play the tough guy. They oppress feminine qualities. Care, compassion, cleaning. That's for girls. Girls, you have the same. They don't want to show their masculine qualities, so they wear high heels, they paint their nails red, long hair, pretty smile, very girlish. And masculine qualities are oppressed. This very black and white picture I'm painting you. If I look at all of you, you are all pretty balanced, for sure. You can feel that. To look at people. So there has to be a balance. And as a human being, you will be happiest and most comfortable with yourself if you simply allow those both qualities to live together. If you oppress one or the other, you cause a blockage, which eventually leads to disease. You get sick. As a balanced human being, you are also a beautiful human being. Attractive, because you have both qualities. And people are surprised, impressed, when they see that you also have the opposite qualities. They can't believe that. And they take it as a good example. You have to pay attention with this principle before we go on. Shiva and Shakti are two mythological figures from Indian philosophy. In many books, this principle, because the authors or the translators of the books have not understood and have not done their research properly, or they just, without asking any questions, just copy another book, or copy parts of other books and put it together in their own writing, claiming it to be their book. But Shiva is actually a man. Shiva is the Lord of dance. He's actually a warlord. He's a ferocious warrior. But Shiva energy is feminine. How is that possible? How is this possible? Yes?
She wants to attract us.
Yes, you have read the handout. And all the others have not. Shame on you. Shakti is a woman. But it's masculine energy. Every time we talk about this principle, Shiva is feminine energy, Shakti, masculine energy. Never forget this. Never forget this. Why? How is this possible? Well, if you reflect on this, this principle carries the balance in itself. Shiva, although he is a man, if he wants to have the attention from his mistress or his wife, Shakti, he goes down to her wavelength, which is, she's feminine, she's a female. So tough guy doesn't work. He has to be nice and gentle to her. Feminine. As a result, she feels attractive. Shakti, on the other hand, she's female. If she wants to have the attention of the ferocious warlord, she goes down to his wavelength. And she starts to move, because move, action, is masculine, is yang energy, so that attracts his attention. You can see this in the Yin Yang principle also. Everybody thinks that the Yin Yang principle is two-dimensional, black and white, but it's multidimensional. in exactly the same way as that Shiva and Shakti seem to be contradicting each other, the black side of the Yin Yang model has a white eye. That is, the black side, the Yang side, is also having part of the Yin side by the white eye. The Yin side, the white side, has a black eye. Not because Shiva punched him on his eye, but because he carries the quality of the other one. So you have cross connection here, not just black and white, but it is not just how do you say that? A pair of opposites in this way, but also within themselves they have a pair of opposites. That is exactly a model of the human being. She told me that she was reading a book about chakras, and she said, Ron, you told me that Shiva is feminine energy, but this book says it's masculine energy. And then I heard from other people the same thing with other books. How is that possible? Because people didn't do their homework. Oh, Shiva, well, that is a warlord, must be masculine energy. And people just write it down and they copy it from each other without thinking critically about what's behind it, without knowing about the philosophy that's behind it. So I emphasize this, that you never forget, because you make yourself ridiculous if you tell this in the wrong way and people find out. Okay. Shiva and Shakti, energy, in your body. If you printed out the Hatha Yoga Pradipika that I sent you, you see the model of a person in meditation. Not so bad. It's the only thing that I can draw reasonably well. Anyway, this is only symbolical, what I'm going to draw now. This is not what you look like in reality. And it's supposed to be a flame. It looks more like a dog drawing. I'll just make a circle here. That's the third eye and the crown chakra. Shiva energy comes down from above. In Korea, traditional Korean men, they say to their wife, woman, I'm superior to you. I'm heaven, you are earth. They know a little bit about this philosophy, but they don't know the reality, so they use it to oppress the other sex. Yeah? Shiva energy comes down from above. We have a moon gate and a sun gate, Surya Bindu and Chandra Bindu. Chandra is a moon. Maybe this sounds familiar. The Indians, they have their own rocket program, their own space program, and their rockets are called Chandra. Chandra 1, Chandra 2, Chandra 3. Chandra is the moon. Above the head, or in the crown, symbolically you have a gate, which is called the moon gate, Chandra Bindu. Bindu is a gate, an opening. Chandra Bindu. Through Chandra Bindu, Shiva energy comes in. Winds around the chakras, flowing down, and it goes out through Surya Bindu at the bottom of the spine. What? The top one is the moon, and the bottom is Surya Bindu, is the sun gate. Surya is the sun. Surya Namaskar is salutation to the sun. This energy, Shiva energy, can never reverse and go up. Always goes down. Shakti energy comes in through Surya Bindu. It goes up. It goes in the opposite direction. Winding around the chakras. And it goes out through Chandra Bindu. Does this look familiar? Hmm? It is not only a helix, yes, it is a helix, but it is also, what you call it? Huh? Yeah, that's the helix. You've never seen this model before? Yeah, it is. But it is on every ambulance, in every country in the world. On every ambulance, you see this two snakes winding around each other 7 times. Not more, not less. And the two heads together. So this is a very old principle that is not only from India, it has been known in very ancient societies all over the world. How do you call this in English? In Dutch we call it, it's a Greek, a Latin word, I think.
Same. I can't remember either. I think it's the same.
Escula. In Dutch we say escula. It's spelled A-E-S-C-U-L-A-A-P. So if you translate that to English, you make it P-E. Escula. That is from Latin, derived from Latin. Why do you find it on an ambulance? Because healthcare is about health. Health is about balance. Without harmony between Shiva and Shakti, there cannot be health. That is why Eastern medicine is not concerned with the wound that you have or the sickness in which it manifests. Eastern medicine is concerned with your balance of energy. And if you restore the balance of energy with needles or with healing or with other, with herbs or use of other techniques, which are all designed to restore balance between Shiva and Shakti, the disease will disappear. That is holistic healing. Yoga is holistic healing. Practice of yoga leads to you getting rid of all your diseases. Why? Because of increasing harmony. The diseases that you have are the result of disharmony, blockages in your energy circulation. So automatically, if you work on more and more harmony in the next couple of years, you will find that the diseases that you have will disappear, gradually of course, and you will not get new diseases anymore, up until very high age. The black line that I drew in the middle, that is a third channel that comes into being only when there is harmony. The left channel, we say it's a left channel, that is the channel through which Shiva energy comes down, is called Ida. Ida is a kind of feminine name, so it's easy to remember. Ida. The channel, the right channel, through which Shakti goes up, is called Pingala. And they never touch. Like the helix, they wind around each other, they never touch. Shiva energy can only go down. Shakti energy can only go up. Shiva energy is responsible for your recovery. So when you're very tired, you hear nada very loud. Why? Because your focus is here. Whether you do it consciously or not, people do it usually unconsciously, of course, subconsciously, because it is a natural process. When you are tired, exhausted, you have a long day of work, you need more Shiva energy to recover. And so when you sit down and you close your eyes in exhaustion, nada is so loud. That's because a lot of Shiva energy is flowing in. When you're excited, you don't feel anything here. You feel the opposite. You feel excitement in your lower body. That is Shakti energy, expanding. So it takes place at the bottom and it rises up. That's why you feel like when you take a roller coaster ride or you jump out of an airplane or something. That excitement is here, not here. Can you follow a little bit? When we practice meditation, people who practice meditation regularly, they often say, I feel like being sucked up. I feel like floating. I feel like being sucked up. Nada becomes so intense that it feels like as if they are rising off the floor. You feel lighter, literally. When you have that feeling, your meditation is intense, your concentration is intense, you feel like being elevated, sucked up, as some people describe it. What actually is happening is the third channel is opening up. That is called Sushumna Nadi. A nadi is an energy channel or a nerve. This phenomenon does not occur in what we call normal people in general. Why? Because they live in a duality. They are ping-ponging between tamas and rajas all the time, with hardly any harmony at all. This is all philosophy. The reality is a little bit different, of course. There is not one channel winding down and one channel winding up. You have 72,000 energy channels. And Ida is not actually in reality on the left side and Pingala in reality on the right side. All parts of your body are filled with all those 72,000 energy channels. So this is just a model. But it's important that you know this. This is the basis for yoga. on a higher level. Every yogi, every yoga teacher should know this. And most of the yoga teachers I've spoken with, they don't know anything about this. This is basic. So don't forget. And if you forget, then you look at this model because this is exactly it. And you see the names also are there. The names of the chakras, the names of the channels.
We wear these to the test.
Even Shushumna Nadi. Say again?
Can we wear the sweatshirts to the final exam?
I will put a sticker on it. I will black it out. Actually, I didn't even have to write it down because it's on your shirt, on your hoodie. But we are going to let Shiva and Shakti energy flow in and out of our body, controlled by the mind. That energy is always flowing in and out of your body. But now we are going to step in and accelerate the energy. That is what we will do with pranayama exercises. It is very powerful. You may think that because you can't see it, and maybe you don't even feel something, you may think, through all that mysterious crap. But many students I've had over time have actually healed diseases that regular medicine has no answer for. You have to think of allergies, rheumatism, arthritis, skin diseases. Not one doctor has ever had an answer to those problems. All they can do is alleviate the symptoms. They give you cream, they give you hormone injections, they give you painkillers, but the condition does not get better. On the contrary, it only deteriorates further with the progress of time. And remarkably, starting practicing pranayama, accelerating Shiva and Shakti by the power of the mind, has almost immediate results. Unbelievable, but true. We have the proof for that. Do you have this? Okay. Now, there are people who say, well, chakras, you can tell me many things, but I've never seen a chakra. And I've never heard a reasonable explanation of what it is. Chakra, the literal meaning of chakra is a wheel. Talking about chakra, you know the Indian restaurants, chakra? They're terrible. They started with a little place in Hepangchong, marvelous food, original Indian food, so delicious. Then they expanded, Hanamdong, Pyeongtaek, here and there and everywhere. I went there last week, I went to Itaewon, and the week after that I went to Hanamdong. I'll never go back anymore there. It used to be packed with foreigners. There are no foreigners anymore either, so I'm not the only one who thinks that. Anyway, chakra. Don't forget chakra and don't go there. Energy wheel. A chakra is not something that you can go to a hospital and ask the surgeon to open your body and take out your third chakra or something. He will open up your body and there is nothing. Then what is a chakra? What is a chakra? Huh? it is a ball of energy, it's a bundle of energy. If you look at the body from the side, you have the spine, tailbone, spine. What do you find inside the spine? Nerves. What do those nerves do? The brain, which is in command of your whole body and all its functions, all is like a computer. And from that computer comes a whole bundle of wires that goes down through the spine to surface the parts of the body that need to be directed from the brain. So there are spots in the spine where a bundle of nerves comes out. Nerves are energy channels, it's the same, because the nerve activity is pure energy, the energy signal. So you have one. Here, of course, you have a lot of energy in the first place. Here is a lot of energy activity taking place, nerve activity, brain activity. That's Ajna Chakra. There's a whole bundle of nerves that go through the spine, and at the level of the throat, a bundle of nerves comes out that take care of the functions that are related to the throat. So that is speaking, swallowing, but also hearing and balance. Another bundle of nerves comes out at the level of the heart, taking care of the heart function, the lungs. Then you have another bundle just below the diaphragm, solar plexus, where you have the fire center, Manipura chakra, which is responsible for all the heat processes in your digestion. Think about the stomach, the acids in the stomach. Think about the gallbladder, the spleen, the liver. They are all surfaced by this bundle. And then you have another bundle coming out at the level of the bladder, responsible for the organs in the lower body. And then you have another bundle coming out at the very lowest chakra, the very lowest level. And because of that bundle coming out of the spine, there is a field of energy that you can detect with modern day technology. You can actually make this visible. So in the past you could say, hey, I can't see anything, so I don't believe in it. But you can make it visible with modern photographic technology. The same as that you can with some measuring device, you can walk around a building, and with that device you follow the walls, and you know exactly where the electric lines are embedded in the walls, because there is a field of magnetism. It's exactly the same. There is a bundle of cables that carry energy, and that energy you can feel actually. Have you ever felt the chakra? No? Nobody went to the toilet today? That is the easiest one to feel, that is the easiest one to realize. That's why I asked you at the introduction of this subject, how do you go to the toilet? What is it that makes you go to the toilet? That is because there is energy. There is a signal from the brain that goes down to the lowest chakra. The lowest chakra is responsible for expulsion, excretion. So all matters that are excreted from your body, that is urine, feces, but also when you give birth to a baby, when you sweat, excretion of all the glands that you have, that is all regulated by the lowest chakra. So the moment that excretion is needed, there will be a world of energy to activate excretion function. That's why I told you, if you have to go to the toilet again next time, don't go. Just feel what is happening. Feel what it is that wants you to stand up and go to the toilet and do your thing. And you will see that it is not subtle at all. It is very obvious. There is a strong steering of energy there. That if you don't give in to that feeling, it makes you very restless, and it even will paralyze your functioning. Maybe you can remember one day that you were in a car or a bus or a train, and you had to go to the toilet, and you had to wait for at least 2 more hours before you would arrive somewhere at a place where you could maybe go to the toilet. And those 2 hours are like hell. Time doesn't pass, you're very restless, constantly moving. You are not aware of it, but it is not subtle at all anymore. And the same way as this, you have 5 more chakras that are responsible for all the functioning of your physical body. With all its functions and all its organs and everything included. Does it make sense a little bit now what chakra is about? That's not some kind of mythological concept. It's just the way that it's explained that it makes it incredible, incredulous. But it is very simple. And it is very practical also. It explains how you function. And when you understand that, you can control that too. So chakra indeed is just a ball of energy. And why are they on those particular locations in the body? Because it is at that spot that a bundle of nerves comes out to take care of certain functions at that particular level of your body. It is not for nothing when you have to go to the toilet that you feel that in your lower body. Not because the organs are there or because the action takes place there. No, the switchboard that triggers that is there. The throat chakra, for example, is related to your ability to express yourself. Now what happens when you're very emotional? What do you say? I have a lump in my throat. Can't swallow. If you're very emotional, you can't eat. You just can't. Why? Because your ability to express yourself is totally frustrated. The throat chakra is blocked, and the functioning of the throat chakra is therefore frustrated as well. Make sense? Yes?
When people are scared and they have that feeling of butterflies in their stomach, does that mean there's a school of energy, fear welling up?
Yes, but fear rises up from the lowest chakra. Usually when you talk about butterflies, you don't talk about fear, but you talk about love.
Well, I mean like public speaking, you know?
Nervous.
Seeing kids in front of a large group of people.
Yeah.
Start getting that nervousness.
Yeah. And you start sweating. You want to go to the toilet.
Well, not the toilet. It's like a ball of nervous energy.
Yes. Yes. But that is not really fear. There is a part of fear, but it is a mix of emotions. Fear is very apparent when people wet their pants in fear, or defecate even. Fear is something that you can smell also. And human beings' noses are not so well developed, but animals smell fear immediately. Because you excrete, in your sweat glands, you excrete a hormone that smells. That takes place in the lowest chakra. So, I haven't seen it for a long time on TV, but I don't know, 13, 14 years ago or so, there were huge riots in the Gaza Strip in Israel. Mostly young boys throwing stones at the Israeli defense forces. And I've been a young boy, and we had our riots at certain times. It's very exciting. And you run. It's like almost like an adult. How do you? These games that children play. You have to touch each other. Tag. So when you grow up and you're a teenager, then you start doing that with Israeli defense forces, for example. Actually, you're too young to know what is actually really going on, but it's very exciting. But the moment that they are caught by the soldiers, they are so scared because they have heard stories from their friends. They have heard stories, scary stories about being tortured, maybe, about being abused, being beaten up somewhere in a quiet corner or in the cell at the police station. The moment that they are caught, they are so scared that they wet their pants. And I saw many times on TV when they showed images of these riots, guys being led away with a huge wet stain in their pants. What happened? Fear, explosion in Muladhara chakra, and they have no control anymore over their excretion in all its forms. So usually when you're scared, you will not wet yourself, you will not defecate, but you will excrete sweat, fear. In Dutch, we call it literally fear sweat. I don't know if you have a word for that in English. We literally call it fear sweat. But you control your muscles that are responsible for urinating and defecating. However, if there is an explosion of fear, an explosion of energy in Muladhara chakra, you cannot even control that anymore, and you will involuntarily wet your pants and defecate. That is what is happening. Why you feel it rising up, why you feel it at higher places, is because it's Shakti energy, and it has the same principle as a hot air balloon. Hot air rises up. That is how a hot air balloon is being lifted off the floor, including its ballast. In yoga, we will try to bring energy up. We talked this morning about the downfall. So we will reverse the downfall as a result of our constant concentration in Ajna Chakra. What happens if you concentrate in Ajna Chakra? You bring energy up from below. Consciousness is here, in this field, in this area. So people who meditate automatically become more conscious of everything. Of themselves, of the things around them. People start looking at the world in a totally different way as a result of that. Why? You take your energy away from the lower emotions and desires and concentrate that here. You have only one amount of energy and it cannot be everywhere at the same time. So if you concentrate that here, there is less energy there. That doesn't mean that you don't function well anymore. That means that you start taking control of your fears, your desires, your emotions, your instincts. If there is no energy here, it means automatically that you have more energy here. That is when you are an instinctive being. You are ruled by your fears and your emotions and your desires. And most people, no matter how much education they have, are mainly functioning below the diaphragm. The diaphragm is one of the glass ceilings that we have in yoga. So the first thing that should happen is that we open up the heart chakra. Opening up of the heart chakra makes you a real yogi. Until the heart chakra opens, you are considered to be a sadhaka. Sadhaka is a yoga practitioner, but not a yogi yet. When, by your persistent efforts through practice of asana, concentration, meditation, energy control, you break the glass ceiling and you start functioning more from the heart, then you can be considered a yogi. This happens very quickly. After a couple of months of sincere practice, you can already have an open heart chakra. The next glass ceiling is above the throat chakra, between the throat and mental and spiritual level. So persistent practice, after breaking the glass ceiling above the diaphragm, persistent practice will eventually bring you above the heart. When you start functioning from the heart, that is inherently unstable in the beginning, but in a beautiful way. But you also become very much touched by the misery that you see around you, that you were not aware of when you were functioning below the diaphragm. That is what you see happening often in young people who become very ideological. They are not in control of the process. They start functioning from the heart, and so they start saving dogs in the street. They become a member of Greenpeace. They want to save the world in its entirety. That is normal. As a yogi, you emphasize that even more. You start to see all the misery around you, in your friends, in your family members, that you were not aware of before. You simply couldn't see it. You simply couldn't feel it. You develop empathy. So, the first stage of starting to function from the heart is inherently unstable, but in a beautiful way. But it can make you very emotionally unstable also. But that's a temporary stage that you have to go through. Because your energy will continue to rise, and there will be more and more rationality as a result of your energy being in Ajna Chakra. Can you follow this a little bit? If you understand this, then you have the key to solve all your problems in your life. Whether they are physical or mental. But it requires, and that is the most important, it requires practice. Because this does not happen as a result of reading books. You can read hundreds of yoga books, very interesting, deeply philosophical. This process only takes place if you go to work. You have to go to work physically, mentally, and the books that you read or the lectures that you attend are only a support to understand this process.
So would a yogi blame certain blockages of chakras if someone has colon cancer, for example, stomach cancer?
Yep,
Or
absolutely.
for a friend who's kind of sensitive to this, said that my thyroid problems and my family has a history of thyroid problems, and he says, oh, it's because you're blocked, you don't express yourself. And when I first heard that, I was a little skeptical,
But it starts making sense now.
well, it's starting to pan out, I guess.
Yes. Yes. Cancer is the result of frustrated desire. People who develop colon cancer, for example, they often have very stressful jobs. They're very ambitious to climb the corporate ladder, but it doesn't go fast enough. Their desire is stronger than their ability to climb the ladder. So they're always busy and always stressed. And eventually develops into frustrated energy circulation at that level, then you have cancer. Yeah.
It's funny because my family were very non-confrontational, but there's a big history of thyroid problems too. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a
Yeah.
very new perspective to look at it.
Yeah. But do not now suddenly start becoming confrontational because then you cause other problems. But being not confrontational means, if it leads to that kind of problems, means that you oppress what you want to say. And as yogis, we do not oppress anymore, but we also try to avoid the damage that we cause if we do just inadvertently express ourselves. We try to find a middle way. So you have to vent your frustrations, but you try to do it in a more constructive way, knowing, anticipating the possible damage that you would cause if you do not canalize that. So rather than oppressing it, you try to control it and keep it into your hands so that you know where it is going. By the practice of yoga, you will see, if you continue to practice yoga, you cannot oppress anymore. Because you cannot face the conflict anymore. Because you become honest with yourself. You cannot deny it anymore. You become conscious, you cannot deny it anymore. So in the beginning, you will see that there is more conflict. In the beginning of your yoga development, you will see that there is more conflict. You have to go through that. That is, you have the quiet before the storm. Well, here you have the storm before the quiet. You create a storm with your transformations, with your movement, everything, putting everything into motion, but that will, at a certain point, calm down and it will be better than ever before. So the inherent instability, you have to accept and go through. And I want to help you with that if you are being confronted with such. So I told you already at the beginning, if you have problems, write me. Because if I give you insight in how it works and what you can do to deal with it in a constructive way, you don't have to suffer for years in instability. You can immediately start working on it consciously. And that gives you a very big advantage over many yoga practitioners who have to suffer through that instability. Sorry, somebody needs my attention. Yeah.
Usually after meditation,
Yeah.
I feel more softness, more family. I feel more family. That means I take Shiva energy. If I take Shakti energy or transfer different fields after meditation.
Maybe you are a tough girl, usually. And when you meditate, you become peaceful and soft. You do not become more feminine, you become more sattvic, you're more harmonious. And that feels nice. It's not feminine, but it's very nice. Peaceful, calm. Hmm?
Going off that, Ron, I remember last class you said before the meditation, if you feel you need to press between your eyes,
Yeah.
go ahead, because this same friend also complains that I think too much and said you see the line in between your eyes, you're blocking your third eye, and you're not really, like you're gonna have this like crease in your forehead, and so he's the guy who told me lie on your back and put a stone on your forehead and just try to. Michelle's always pressing my forehead back, like
Yeah.
sort of, because I'm always kind of in this mode of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Is that all connected? I gather, but.
Yeah, it is the same principle that we are working with. Putting a stone here, lying down with a stone here, will just automatically draw your attention there.
It does, yeah.
So what we are doing actually is we do not use tools, we try to do everything intellectually so that we can be in control of everything. But the principle is the same. And the fact that you are a thinker, that is a good thing. You will see. That means you are always contemplating, always playing chess. And that can be an obstacle, but in the long run, that will be your strongest point in the future. You will see.
Yes. But you need tools like radio to have someone else's voice block out your own voices.
No, that is the dumb people's way.
Yeah.
We do the intelligent way, but that requires a lot of effort and discipline and dedication. In the end, of course, it lies somewhere in the middle. And you will see, actually, as a result of your practice, that you cannot stand that radio anymore. It is a static that you found pleasant for many years, and suddenly it's intruding and disturbing. So you black out that voice inside, not by over shouting it with something else, but you try simply to bring it to calm. And you do that by being silent and observing that voice in the first place. And then you become friends with that voice. You become friends with yourself. Everybody has to do that. And then you take that voice by the hand and you gently transform it. You understand a little bit about energy? We have all kind of, like a lump in the throat, we have various expressions in all languages in the world that are related to this energy. We just don't see it anymore. What do you say when your lover leaves you? Exactly. And that is literally what happens. Your heart is broken. Because love is in your heart. What happens with people who fall in love for the first time? Is their first experience of functioning from the heart. They start acting ridiculous, foolish. Of course, they don't agree if you would confront them with that, because they live on a pink cloud at that moment. Love is in the heart, compassion. Suddenly, the first time you fall in love especially, you totally change. Suddenly you become very nice and you smile at everybody and like an idiot almost. But you feel wonderful, you're floating, you're walking on clouds. Yes?
How do you know which chakra you're working on, or like you're running on?
You can feel. But if there is no extremes in your functioning, most people don't feel which chakra is dominant, because at that moment it is subtle. But in case of needing to go to the toilet and denying that, it's very strong. In case of sexuality, it's very strong. In case of fear, very strong. But in general, we don't really feel much. And this is the problem with recognizing those energies. But we are actually all day long, with everything that we do all those things because we are directed from the brain, going down to a certain part of the body, instructing us to do something. When talking about the heart, for example, the heart chakra is stimulated with action with the hands. So most therapies that are dealing with people who are in trouble, include something like handcraft. Something that you do with your hands, working in the garden. Stimulate the heart center. We will come back to that when we talk about the chakras. Next week we will start, I think, with the chakras.
Next week we're going to talk about ankles and...
No, next week we will start with Ajna chakra first, because that is the most important one. And then we will continue with Muladhara chakra.
Because I've been wanting to ask, in some Buddhist statues, you often see
No, that's mudras.
mudras.
Yeah, I will explain about mudras too.
So another time.
Yeah.
I have a question. On the drawing,
Yeah.
I noticed that there's like 4 little loops and then they increase by 2 as they go up. What's that symbolic of?
We will come to that
Okay.
next week. Those are petals.
Okay.
So each chakra has a number of petals. The higher you go, the more petals. And so the crown chakra is the 1,000-petaled lotus. Muladhara chakra has 4. Svadhisthana chakra has 6 or 8, something like that. It's not so important, it's all symbolism. Of course, there is a little story behind that symbolism, but we will come to that. Mudras are a higher form of energy control. Pranayama is controlled by the mind. Now, what higher form do you have than the mind? That is using the heart. So pranayama, energy control, is controlled by the willpower, by the will. You use the will to make Shiva or Shakti flow in or out of the body. Mudra is a little bit the same idea, but it goes beyond the willpower. You use a wish to practice mudra. Mudras are not hand movements. If you look it up, you will see that mudras are secret energy seals. They are often shown as hand movements because the hand movements are there to remind you of something. You have a mudra in which you fold one hand before your heart, which means that you are doing a vow, and you put your thumb and your index finger together. It's very common mudra that you see in statues and so on, drawings. You make a vow to control your ego. That is what this means. The thumb is solidity, that means control. The index finger is ego. So you vow to control your ego. So the hand movement is not important. That is for uneducated people to remind them of something. So the hand movement is not important, the idea behind it. You have to feel in your heart what this actually represents. That is when the mudra has a power. If you just sit like this for an hour, because you read in a book that it will bring you to enlightenment, you just get a cramp in your fingers, and you're not going anywhere. At the end of this course, in June, the end of May, not the end of June, we will learn Sambhavi Mudra. Sambhavi Mudra is always shown as this. You close your ears with your thumbs, eyes with your fingers, index, close your nose with your middle fingers, and your lips. It is said when you do that you will reach enlightenment. Well, you just get a headache and pain in your eyes. And we will not do it in that way.
All you need is a post-it note. All you need is a post-it note or a string around your finger or something to remind you. It's just a reminder.
Yeah, it's symbolism.
Yeah.
The ninjas in Japan, they have also all kinds of secret hand movements with their fingers, something like but you know, there are those young boys who are very proud of their secret ninja hand movements. But hand movements only represent certain values in martial art, like honor, pride, invincibility, honesty, courage. And each of those values is represented by a hand movement. So it's like praying. When you go through all your secret hand movements, that's not to impress other people, that is to slowly but certainly adopt those principles into your mind, into your heart. You understand that? So it's just a symbolism. We, as educated intellectual people, we don't need those hand movements. Or at least we understand that they stand for something, and we should focus on what they stand for, not on the hand movement itself. Sambhavi Mudra is an exercise to consciously raise the energy from the lowest chakras to Ajna chakra. You will see. Very interesting. Very powerful also. Questions? More questions? Shiva, Shakti, Surya Bindu, Chandra Bindu, Ida, Pingala, Shushumna Nadi. Shushumna Nadi, the third channel, that is that feeling of being sucked up. When you are meditating and nada is not loud, but it is very present, and you feel like your head is buzzing and expanding, and you feel light. Your spine is a highway of nerves, which means it is a highway of energy. And when you are very concentrated here, all that energy is rising, and you involuntarily erect, and you feel your head is growing, and your body is becoming smaller. You feel light, literally. You feel light. Yeah.
I met somebody who said that Kundalini yoga can be dangerous. And
Yes.
I never delved further into it with that person, but I was just wondering why that person said.
Yes, good. Kundalini. We'll have to make some time for this. That's in the head out also. Kundalini is mysterious also because not many people understand it. But from the moment that you started practicing yoga, you are gradually awakening Kundalini in your body. Haven't you felt more energetic? Haven't you felt that you need a little less sleep than usual? That you, when you wake up, you are more awake than usual? Okay. Kundalini, symbolically, here we go again, all full of symbols, but that is because it's very old philosophy, and people only understood symbolic language. Kundalini is a snake that is coiled up at the spine, at the bottom of the spine, and it's sleeping. So it's latent energy. Kundalini is latent energy. Why is it at the bottom at the spine and not above the head? That is because it is a form of Shakti energy. But in most people, Kundalini energy doesn't really awaken. To awaken Kundalini energy, there are various ways to do that. The way that we do it is a very slow and gradual process. Why is it dangerous? Or can it be dangerous? That is because there are techniques to violently awaken Kundalini energy. Like hopping.
What was that?
Hopping. Yeah, sitting in the lotus pose, then jumping up, and every time you land on your tailbone very violently. That is okay if you have many, many years of yoga experience and your body has transformed, then you can handle the large amounts of energy that will rise up. But to be able to handle large amounts of Kundalini energy or large amounts of Shakti energy, large amounts of Shakti energy is equal to Kundalini. To be able to handle that, you first have to have energy channels that are able to handle such large amounts of energy. It is the same. You have a little shitty car like I have, Daewoo Matis, and you drive around in your village and everything is okay. No problem. You go around the corners and all the obstacles you can easily go around. No problem. But one day you get this crazy idea and you build a big Ferrari engine into your Daewoo Matis. You put rocket fuel in your tank, and your car is too big for those little village roads, and you will bump into every obstacle on its way. That is what happens if you take Kundalini energy. So if you want to drive that car properly, you will have to go to a specially built Formula One circuit, racetrack, where there are no obstacles in the way, there are no lampposts and trees. The cars are all built in such a way that they can handle high speeds of your car. So you first have to build that high-speed racetrack. And you do that with your persistent practice of yoga, asana, pranayama, eventually also mudras, concentration, meditation. You increase the capacity of your energy channels gradually. So if you do not do that and you start doing Kundalini yoga, if you know the secrets of how to really awaken that energy, you mess up your system.
Like I know there are a lot of community that people stop. They like to get high and energized.
Yeah?
Is that sweat?
No. But I frankly speaking, I have met people who claim to have practiced Kundalini yoga for many years. And I don't see any Kundalini in those people. So of course, you have probably met a lot more people. But if people without experience, if they receive the real exercises that awaken Kundalini violently, people get messed up really, physically and mentally. Yeah, people start behaving strangely and they cannot function normally anymore. You know the symptoms that people have when they burn out? It's like that. People who have Kundalini, bad experience with Kundalini, they're never the same anymore after that. Yeah, it's almost like having a bad trip with LSD. Yeah. So those warnings are it's not nonsense. Those warnings are there. Every kind of practice of yoga leads to Kundalini. But if it happens in the normal way, in the natural way, gradually, you don't even notice. Because there is no sudden awakening of energy. It happens very slowly, gradually. And it will only increase when the capacity of your energy channels increases. But it becomes dangerous if you start messing with it. If you're not prepared, you're not in a good condition, your energy channels are not upgraded yet, and then you try to push large amounts of energy through the energy channels, then things go wrong. I've met people with whom that happened, and you don't want to do that.
What are the characteristics of a person who has properly open, whatever, kundalini?
Very energetic. Very energetic.
From my understanding, kundalini is considered enlightenment. So
No.
No.
The word enlightenment is used many times. Well, what is enlightenment? Yeah. No, kundalini is not enlightenment, but maybe the two go together.
Okay, because I was from, I don't know much about it, just this reading and maybe something I did on the internet made it seem that if you can achieve kundalini kind of like consciously, or you can kind of will it to happen, or you can regularly open this channel, that this is the place where in the state of kundalini you receive, it's like you can receive messages from whatever beyond, or it's like really mystical experiences, but I don't
Mystical
know.
experiences happen as a result of your peace of mind, as a result of the silence. Because mystical experiences are not so mystical, but they occur when you are super sensitive. They are only mystical because we think that they are supernatural or they are very rare. And people who experience them are very rare, but they are all around us. We just don't perceive them. Like a dog, for example, is colorblind. It doesn't see the colors that we see. So with your increasing consciousness, you will start seeing things that other people don't see, that other people are not aware of. You will start sensing things that other people are too blunt for. Other people's senses are too blunt for to perceive those kind of signals or see those kind of phenomena. But it is only mysterious because we don't understand them. As a result of your practice, they will just gradually creep into your life, seep into your life as very normal, and you don't even realize that you have developed certain special abilities until you see a comparison with other people. And it takes often years for people to acknowledge that they have actually developed something, some ability that other people don't have.
Have you experienced this?
I think I have many abilities that other people don't have, absolutely.
How does it manifest? What does it feel like? Or like
Nothing special. No. Because it's something that develops very gradual, so you think it is normal, and you think that everybody has those abilities. Only to come at a later stage to come to the conclusion that other people don't have it.
Yeah, maybe as an outsider, it's just the readings make it seem like very mystical and
Yes,
powerful.
that is the problem with most of the yoga books. They make everything very mystical and mysterious. But it is yoga as science of life, and actually there is no mystery. It is all practical and concrete. And you can experience it all, you can feel it all. Don't be afraid of Kundalini, but do not go into yoga schools where they practice Kundalini yoga. Because often they don't know what they are doing. This is also Kundalini yoga, but you are developing it so gradually you don't even notice, or hardly. You just become healthier, stronger, more energized, energetic, and that process is endless. Yeah? I have seen people who take themselves very serious with yoga, having practiced yoga for 10, 15, 20 years, and they stand in front of you like, oh yeah, cool, nice. It is like as if they are drugged. Like as if they just smoked some marijuana or something. Because they have that idea that when you practice yoga, you must be very relaxed. So their eyes are slanted and they go, but the characteristic of a real yogi is his energy. Have you ever seen a picture of an Indian yogi with his eyes slanted and talking very, like being drugged. Never. Very passionate and big eyes and full of energy. That is yoga. Because that is the result of yoga. Yoga has energy. And you are that shit car, Deumatis, that you turn into a Formula One rocket car. That is what you are when you are a yogi. You are a Formula One rocket car. With rocket fuel in the tank. But yoga is not about relaxation, you know. That is a very great misconception. You can listen to music and relax. Where does this misconception come from? That is because yoga leads to better health, yoga leads to peace of mind, and so naturally you are more relaxed. But you are more relaxed full time, 24 hours a day. Not as a result of a superficial outside influence like music or a drug or any substance that makes you relax only temporarily, because that kind of relaxation you always have to pay back. You understand? Superficial relaxation you always have to pay back because you create an imbalance. The relaxation that you have as a result of yoga, that is not a relaxation in the sense of lying on the beach. Or actually it is like lying on the beach. It is a feeling of being on a vacation, even though you are not on a beach, even though you are living your life in daily life and society, doing your job and everything. So that is a different relaxation. That is a relaxation that is totally pervading you, not just as a result of a moment of nice music or a nice glass of cognac or something, but it is something that is there, that you become that relaxation. It's not something that you superficially adopt and then after an hour or so